Welcome to today's intellectual exchange, focusing on exploring strategies for fostering a sense of belonging in multilingual learners. Today, I have the distinct honor of hosting a remarkable guest whose expertise and dedication to supporting multilingual learners is unparalleled. Dr. Ilene has over 25 years of experience fostering inclusive learning environments and championing learning innovation. As a former teacher and an administrator, she has first-hand experience supporting multilingual learners within English-based curricula. Dr. Winocrow obtained her teaching certification in ESL and mentored colleagues on language acquisition techniques. Her advocacy for instilling a sense of belonging in students is reflected in many of her published works. So without further ado, I welcome Dr. Ilene to our discussion as we explore the strategies for fostering belonging in multilingual learners. The floor is yours, Doctor. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Gloria, and thank you again for inviting me to speak. As you can see from the things in my background, I should be in Kuwait, which is where I've lived for the last 40 years, with my husband, who's Kuwaiti, and also I raised my 3 children there, but they're all over the world. They're adults now, but I'm actually in Buffalo, New York, because my mother had a health setback, and so but she has acquired things over the years, and so that's why you see the decoration. So it's very appropriate. And as a connection to my teaching multilingual or bilingual learners, and also the experiences that I've had in the classroom and learning more about the sense of belonging, especially in relation to our students and our teachers, I found all of that out by teaching and becoming an administrator in schools and at one of the private universities in Kuwait. So what we really have is a background on my part of growing up as a native English speaker, learning Spanish in school, enjoying learning another language, not traveling much because I was too shy at the time. But when I did start traveling, especially when I moved all the way to Kuwait in 1984, I learned how much the language and the culture tied together. And the more you learn about the language and the culture, the more you understand the thinking of people, especially our students, and also the more you understand the inner workings of languages. And so when I was teaching in the schools in Kuwait, I taught 3rd grade. I also taught intensive English at the pre-university level. I found that knowing and understanding and having learned Arabic, not everybody can do that, but because I had that background, it really gave me an understanding of the differences between English and Arabic. And really, it doesn't matter which second language or third language you know, and hopefully you're able to even just get exposure to another language. If you're an international teacher, or even if you're a teacher in your own country, and the native language or the mother tongue is English, is important to understand the inner workings of different languages. And so when we have multilingual learners, whether they're Arabic speakers, Spanish speakers, speakers of particular language, African languages or European languages, it's really important for us to understand a little bit about the structure of language and in comparison to the way English is, and the nuances of English that make it difficult for our students to learn the language. And it doesn't matter what age they are, it's really important that we have a basic understanding. That also helps us with the empathy, to be empathic toward our students while they're learning. Often I find that teachers, and by the way, when we're teaching multilingual learners, it isn't just the responsibility, or it doesn't fall just on the shoulders of the English language teacher. It's also the subject teachers. Because if you think about science, math, social studies, history, chemistry, whatever it is, there is a lot of vocabulary and there are a lot of concepts that need to be understood in English when we're teaching them. So we're all teaching language. It doesn't matter if we're a subject matter teacher or we're an English language teacher. The importance of understanding that is that know that there are certain things we need to focus on when we start teaching new content. And so there are a lot of other things that I will mention later in terms of making our students feel comfortable and that sense of belonging. But in terms of the actual teaching the content, we need to make sure that we set up a vocabulary bank for students of new words that we know that are probably go them to understand. I recommend that the teacher actually puts together either a chart or a spreadsheet so that they can write the word down, they can write the definition of the word in English, they can write the word or phrase that's the same, sometimes it's not just one word, in their mother tongue, in their native language, and also definition or the understanding they have, and then also write it in a sentence. It doesn't have to be a complicated sentence depending on their age or their level of learning English. And have that as a basic understanding before they even start learning the content. That will help set them up for success when the teacher begins introducing the content to them, because they'll already have an awareness of some of the terms. So a big part of being a language learner, doesn't matter whether you're learning a foreign language, you're learning English, doesn't matter, is feeling as comfortable as possible and not being afraid to make a mistake. For whatever the reason, because it's something new, it takes us out of our comfort zone. And we often feel, as adults also, that when we're out of our comfort zone, if we're doing something and it's not correct, that we'll be either critiqued for it or people will think differently about us. And especially with language, because it's our communication, it's really important for us to understand that the more background knowledge we can build for our students, including the key vocabulary words, and any other background knowledge that they need to connect to previous knowledge, that it's really important to set them up for success in the academic part. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about making them comfortable in the belonging part, or the part, the social emotional part. So that is really important in terms of meeting and greeting them every day at the door. It doesn't matter, which teacher you are, whether you're their homeroom teacher or their subject matter teacher, doesn't matter what age they are. We shouldn't be sitting at our desks doing things. I know how busy we are as teachers. We have a lot of administrative work to do, grading and all, but just taking those couple of minutes when the students are walking in, greeting them at the door, welcoming them into our classroom is a really, really important sign to our students that we are really excited to see them. And so if we do that on a daily basis, we are going to make our students feel that sense of belonging in our classroom. And also the building of a team with our students, so with their classmates, helping them gain a sense of trust that we want what's best for them. And so when we point something out that they could be doing better or that they need improvement, that we're not telling them they're failing, we're actually helping ways to improve the things that they need work on. And as a language teacher, again, subject matter English language, it's really, really important for all of our learners to feel that sense of home in our classroom. And the more they feel that sense of belonging, the less they will have going on in their heads about worrying about whether they're going to make a mistake or what happened at home that day or whatever. So
Yeah.
those are just some of my initial thoughts about teaching multilingual learners.
Wow, amazing. Thank you very much. Okay, I have one question for you. How can
Sure.
educators, okay, how can educators leverage the diverse linguistic background of their students to create a more inclusive and enriching learning environment?
Yes, that goes for the teachers because I had Arabic teachers when I was a principal. That Arabic teachers, I had teachers from other countries, other cultures, as well as native English speakers. And it was really important, just as important in the classroom as for our staff, to make sure that everybody feels that sense of belonging when they walk in the door of the school. And how do we do that? But again, establish the sense of trust. So for our students, when they, I got to know them so well that if they were having an off day, I would know it. And I would make sure to at least indicate in some way, separate from in front of the class, that I had noticed that seemed like something was bothering them or whatever, and allowing them to talk to me if sort of share that something was going on and that's why they weren't at their best today. Also, when I walked into the classroom and I wasn't having a very good day, before I'd start anything, I would let my students know that, I was going to do my best today, whether I wasn't feeling well or something had happened or whatever. And I didn't need to share what happened, but I would tell them, if for some reason a little bit you or say something, please, understand, but also let me know that it bothered you because we're all human, teachers also. And in terms of the teachers in the building, it was really important for me so we used to have staff meetings and all the staff had to be there after school, and the Arabic teachers and the English teachers. But the majority of the time, first of all, was spent in English. And second of all, was about whatever was happening in the main classroom, because I was an elementary principal. So it was, the homeroom classroom. And initially, there was very little time spent on what the Arabic teachers were doing. If they had a special event, we'd mention it or whatever, but they sat there pretty much quiet. And I realized soon, after talking to them and seeing that was going on, that I needed to include them. And so part of the meeting ended up being the head teacher of the Arabic staff talking about things that, they were doing that helped the English teachers understand what their students were doing when they were taking their Arabic classes. And they felt included. And inclusion is one of the big parts of feeling that sense of belonging. And so creating that cohesiveness in the building. And of course, the principal or the headmaster is one of the most important people to lead those initiatives, to set that as an example of that confidentiality, that trust, that inclusivity. The fan for me, the diversity was basically Kuwaitis or Arabs and English speakers. So sometimes we had students from the subcontinent, from Asia or whatever. But as we've heard so much about now, it's really important for students to see themselves in the books they read, in the textbooks that they use. And so we have to have this cultural awareness also about what kinds of things we're using, what resources we're using in the classroom, and be sensitive to the 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 multicultural nature of our multilingual learners, that also we expose the other learners to those cultures, so that there is we build that sense of respect for each other. And so, we would have events where we would make sure that it wasn't just either the English teachers, the English speaking teachers, or the Arabic teachers that were doing it. We combined as many teachers as we could get involved in everybody would play a part in that event. We built that collegiality. Teachers started sharing their knowledge, which is such an important part of professional development. And by sharing their knowledge, it made them feel better. Those are some of the other suggestions in relation to that multilingual nature and the cultural responsiveness that we need to have with our students, because they are from different backgrounds. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I know that your audience wants to hear you too.
Okay. Okay, so I have one more question for you. So how do you address the unique challenges faced by multilingual learners in feeling a sense of belonging, and what roles does cultural sensitivity play in this process? Because they all have different cultures, so there must be something unique about each individual. So what role does this play in the whole
Yeah.
process?
That's so important, Gloria. That's a really, really important point that you bring up. It's not just the cultural difference, or the culture that they bring to the classroom. It's also the individuality. So there's so much to each of our students. It's not just what they speak and where they're from, but getting to know them, find out their likes and dislikes, that they're interested in. So for a different language learner, a multilingual learner, it's very important for us to know. I mean, for every learner also, but it's extremely important for us to understand what things catch their interest. We talk about engagement, or the fact that students get bored, we're teaching them, or that they're learning, don't relate to them. And of course, we can't have everything relate to something that they're interested in, but the more that we're able to have them do the kinds of things, read about the kinds of things, learn about the kinds of things that they are interested in, and even to a certain extent, it doesn't have to be all about their interests. So for instance, if I have a student who really likes soccer or football, everything that I give them to learn doesn't have to be about soccer or football, but it could be related to things that are sports related, or that are expand their knowledge, and then make it related to some kind of sports knowledge. But we need to know what they like in order to be able to engage them or interest them. That's why I'm an advocate of project-based learning, because when we have a project, the student has that agency, has that ability to choose. They can choose what they want to talk about, what they want to study, and it can be integrated into all subject areas. So if we put together a project where they are required to do some math, applied math concepts that they're learning, history or social studies and science and so forth, and English vocabulary, if the students know what they're going to be, if they have a rubric to start off with, and they know what they're supposed to be aiming for, what the goal is, then they're going to learn, because they have made the decision what they want to learn about. And so the projects, in fact, that are related to problems or situations in their school or surroundings or community, or if they've read something, a book or something in their textbook about part of the world and they're interested in solving that problem. So those types of projects really pique their interest, and because they're interested, because they're engaged, the learning, whether it's deeply. So Gloria, I'm going to turn the tables a little bit. I'm curious about your students there where you teach, or which in the school that you're at. What is the student population like, and what are the teachers like?
Okay, I teach in a private school, and in Nigeria here, private schools have lesser population compared to the public schools. So I teach a class of 15 students, and I'm a subject teacher. I teach English, and in that school, I teach basic 4, 5, and 6. So I would say altogether, I should have like 45 students. Yes, altogether. And also because of my club, because I have a club, I run a club, which is like an NGO. So this NGO is something that I move around from schools to school. So I visit different schools, and this time around, I make sure I go to underserved communities. So there we have population. We have lots of students. Okay, so I think I have, in a particular school, I have up to 80 to 90 students I
Wow.
teach at a time. Yes. So that is how it is. So, but when it comes to private school, it's just limited to like 15 students in a class. So once the class is more than 15, they break it into two so that it won't exceed the number. But in public schools, you can see up to 100 students in a particular class. And most times you even see that, here in Nigeria, underserved communities, you find some students even sitting on the floor in a very small classroom, congested. So that is why we do what we do to assist them. So most times we go there, we bring them outside, make them comfortable. We can even sit in the field to learn, that's to make them, to be able to use what they have. You understand? Because if we just rely on, okay, teaching and learning has to be in the classroom alone, so that means these students will just squeeze themselves into one small classroom, and most times some of them won't have the urge to come to school. So we make the students comfortable whenever they come to school. So we take them out. Since our classroom is not conducive, we can stay anywhere and learn. And with that, the students are happy to come to school. And I've come across a child that could not speak English. It was very hard to, communicate with this child. And funny enough, in Nigeria we have over 500 languages. So
Wow.
this is a dialect I don't understand, a language I don't understand, and she doesn't understand my language. So, to communicate with her at this initial stage was difficult, very difficult. But what I did is that, okay, come, we start using sign language. And to be sincere, I can't remember, because the way she just picks up was very, yeah, so fast that I couldn't I couldn't record the progress. I was trying to get the progress. Okay, this girl, she can greet now, she can say hello, she understands what come means, she knows when to write. Okay, start writing your notes, copy this, she knows. But when she began to speak, in fact, she became very fluent that I was so shocked.
Wow.
You understand? So I noticed that when you expose a child, if you give them that exposure and just make them comfortable in that environment, you don't segregate, you don't isolate them because they don't understand the language or they are coming from the rural community. Once they have that sense of belonging, you find out that these children will just flow and they will even exceed your expectation. So this was my experience with that student. So and I would say that it was because of inclusive. I made sure she was included in everything we do, even though she could not speak and could not understand. I made sure she was included, and she's very okay now. So this is
That's
the story I wanted to share with you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love success stories. That sounds like that was one. And the nice part too is that as the other students saw you modeling your acceptance and inclusion of the student, and the fact that she began to be able to fairly quickly express herself with the other students, I'm sure it had an effect on the other students because you were modeling this empathy and inclusivity for her. And it's so important for us to be models for our students because, you know, they come from different environments. We don't know how their families handle things. We don't know what kinds of situations they have at home. And so when they get to school, sometimes their behaviors reflects things that have been going on at home, not things that are going on at school. So it's really important for us to be able to make them comfortable and make them feel that sense of community within
Yeah,
our classrooms. And it's wonderful. That program that you're doing sounds like it's fantastic and really helping them. I mean, perhaps the student would still not be speaking English or understanding her fellow students if you hadn't, if you and your group hadn't been there. So that's excellent.
yeah. Thank you, thank you very much. Okay, I don't. Okay, do you have any other thing you need to share with us before the time? Because we have like 9 minutes left. I just received this thing now.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say again, thank you to you, Gloria, for asking me to be on. And for anyone who wants to reach out to me, I didn't prepare anything for today, a lot
Yeah.
going on here, but I have a lot of resources, a lot of presentations that I've done about belonging, resources that I'm always happy to share. If you follow me on or would like to follow me on social media, I'm at Ilene Winokur, ILENE WINOKUR, and I'm sure when you post, you probably add that. Not on Twitter much, Twitter or X, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if I information I have and resources that I've acquired over the years. So yeah, uh, I'm busy and not as adult facility with language, but I hope people get the chance to travel to other countries and also to learn even a little bit of other languages, because I think it really gives us an appreciation of their culture and also of our language learners. So that would be a big suggestion. And it's fun. Traveling is fun.
Yeah.
These
Okay, so
days it's better. Yeah.
maybe in one of our presentations or activities, we can invite you to Nigeria so that you can, yes, in one of
I
the
would love to come. I'm trying to get to Africa. I have
uh,
some refugees in Kakuma, Kenya, that I'm trying to
Oh,
visit. So, Nigeria isn't that far away.
yeah, it's not far from Kenya. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we'll plan towards that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as our intellectual exchange comes to a close, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to you for your invaluable insight and expertise shared with us tonight. So your passion for promoting inclusivity and belonging in education is truly inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I hope to have you once again, maybe in future when let's just we'll plan towards that. So thank you so much. So,
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure, Gloria. And thank you for reaching out to me. And I'm so glad we've connected on social media ourselves.
thank you so much. So until next time, let's remain committed to celebrating diversity and fostering belonging in our educational communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Okay, so I will reach out to you soon.